Hi, I'm William Malik with a bit of security for June 3rd, 2025. Today we're going to talk about continuity of operations. That means backing up and restoring stuff in the event of an unplanned outage or planned outage. You're moving to a new location, you get a new computer, but it's the unplanned case that we're mostly thinking about. What do you need to back up and how often should you back it up? Well, the first thing you're going to need to back up is any kind of financial records, anything related to, say, tax statements or contracts that you've signed, things like, ownership of a car, uh, tax returns, bank statements supporting your tax returns. Those kinds of things need to be kept in the US for 7 years. So having backup is crucially important. Getting the bank to get you records for more than 2 years ago can be onerous and in some cases actually impossible. Consider other things that you might miss if they were gone. Things like pictures, videos, a voicemail from a friend, short messages, email. There are all kinds of things that you might want to say, gee, I wish I still had that photo of so-and-so's graduation or recital or what have you. If you do creative work, your drafts, your prototypes, your compositions, models, those kinds of things you'd want to keep around. You may want to keep a copy of any media that you've transferred from another form into nearline or online, such things as, say, DVDs of movies. I do have some streaming services, but I also have a fairly large collection of DVDs of movies and TV shows that I like a lot. Will sometimes watch again and again rather than trying to figure out which of the various streaming services has one. I'll just go to my online copy of the media that I own. Think about not just the data, but the software that you're going to need to read that data. If you made DVDs from videotapes long ago, you may be surprised to discover that the company that made the software that can read that format off that DVD is no longer around. So you're going to have to back up that software, or you're going to have to go through a process of translation to get that media into a more compatible format. This is an interesting problem. Even stuff that is unchanged may no longer be accessible. I recently found that out when I looked at some PowerPoint documents that I'd created some years ago. The format is no longer supported by Microsoft. Now, fortunately, there is a third-party open office software that is able to read older PowerPoints. But think about what you'd need to be able not just to get the data back, but be able to use it. If you have to get software installed, ask yourself, do you have the license keys? Do you have the version information? Will you be able to go to the publisher and get an updated copy of the software you need as well? Some software publishers will give you access to their applications in the event of a disaster, but you're going to have to register with them ahead of time and understand that a real disaster is not going to be treated the same as your desire to test your backups. So you're going to have to think about, how do I deal with that? If you've encrypted any data, you want to make sure that the key to decrypt it is around it, that the software that performed the encryption is also still available. A file you encrypted 6 or 7 years ago may be completely unreadable today if that vendor is no longer around. You may have modified your applications to support your specific workload. What do I mean by that? You may have customized an app. On some applications, Open Office, there are dozens of settings that have to be in the right place. So you may need to keep a log of how it is you convert that application from its standard out-of-the-box format into what you need in order to continue doing it, what it is that you do with those apps. You may need to work with other applications. And so think about how you would have to restore not just that app, but the other apps that coexist with it in your workflow. And of course, backup is just half the story. You have to restore. Have you tried to restore your backups onto another machine? I mean, pretend you had a disaster, but you happen to have a good spare machine sitting there. What would you do to prep that new machine? Can you get the data loaded onto it? Do you have the right level of software, the operating system, security software, your anti-malware software, whatever filters you have on there? Think about what you would need to do if you had a brand new computer and you had to start from scratch to rebuild. So, could you reinstall the operating system, the middleware, the databases, the email systems, any file sharing software you use, the right browser? What about the extensions that the browser uses? If you go through the process of migrating to a new phone, it's a little easier because you can back up the old phone if it hasn't broken. You have the old one and the new one. You can make sure things are over there. But what do you do if that old phone isn't working any longer? You have to connect to the internet or to Wi-Fi or to your telco, get a signal. You start the installation process for programs. Some days you had to actually start with CDs. Your old laptops didn't come with anything pre-installed at all. You add all those systems, connect to the cloud, and then finally your backup. And think of it differently. What would it take for you to recreate your current IT environment from scratch? And one last question. When you're done restoring the system, how do you make sure that the new system is in fact identical, working correctly compared to the one that you once had? And that's our bit of security for June 3rd. I'm William Malik. Be safe.